Yeah, absolutely.
I know there's
Yeah.
some updates and, you have any input or questions before those meetings or after them, call me or call anybody.
Thank you.
And, we need, the full board participation in the budget is very important, especially, fact that it's my budget, but I won't be here next year. So,
Yeah, so you really,
it's important that,
Yeah,
we get everything
Yeah.
straight, but.
Yeah, there's some during the day. Is that like the 11 o'clock and, things like that?
That's because it's when we interview the department heads for the requests. So we have to do it during business
During the
hours.
business hours,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the first one where they come in, explain to us what they want, what they need. And obviously they don't want to do it after they have to go home. They're getting paid.
Sure.
So
Okay.
the public hearing, which would be 10/23, that's when I'll do my presentation. We would normally adopt a budget, and we have to adopt it no later than November 20th, but we have a meeting date that both, I know Joe and I won't be at it.
Yeah.
And if for some reason one of you are not at it, I set a special meeting on the very end, if you see that, for November 15th, 5 o'clock.
Right.
And that would just be a special meeting. So.
Yeah, I have it, the one during the day is the only problematic one. It's blocked out now, but something could come up.
Right.
If I'm here, I can do it through Zoom as well. So
Mhm.
that anyone at work could join when you're able to, if that is
You're
necessary.
just gonna have to show us how to use it.
Just a computer, I could, we could set it up. and
Yeah.
If I'm here, I'll do it if we
Right.
agree on
Are you talking about the one with the department heads?
the department head one, yeah.
And that very easily I could send you guys out. If you're not here, email on what requests are.
Yeah. Like I said, I
that's
should be
pretty
able
simple.
to unless something pops up.
Okay. All right, so everyone's good?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, the next item is the Comp Alliance Liaison, and that is a request from me. I'll just read my request. As you may be aware, I currently serve on the Board of Trustees for the New York State Municipal Workers' Compensation Alliance. It's the Comp Alliance, as the chairman of the Claims Committee. And I was asked to be on the board because of my past experience as chairman of the Empire State Towing Recovery Trust during my tenure at Vox. While I was attending the meeting last week, I was asked to stay on the board despite not running for office after my term concludes at the end of the year. And I'm willing to do so, but I would like to be considered as a representative of the town. And this would just require town approval to put me on the org as a liaison. It's an unpaid position. It doesn't obligate the town in any way. It's more or less the workman's comp board is for municipalities. So we try to keep our claims as low as we can so we can deliver municipalities such as the town and whoever else with the lowest comp insurance. This would not mean that you have to stay with comp when Alliance, if you guys ever decided that you wanted to go elsewhere. I can tell you right now, it's a great deal, but I mean, you guys do what you got to do, but I would just be a liaison. I could report to you maybe once a year on what's going on. I probably telling Kathleen a lot of stuff. It helps at budget time to know what the budget for that year. So you know what kind of basically your comp insurance is. So that's what I'm asking for your approval.
so if I understand this correctly, it's not necessarily that somebody from the town board sits on this. You were asked specifically. So if you were not the liaison, it wouldn't be somebody else on the board. Is that correct?
No, you'd have to be asked by the Association of Towns. Jerry Geis is the president. That's who I was asked by. It's not just not every town has a board seat.
Gotcha.
You're correct.
Thank you.
What I really like about this is that I think we're setting a wonderful precedent here. And I believe the term slippery slope comes into play. That now that we know that Jim is willing to serve on boards in and on behalf of the town of Aurora, we can proceed with that knowledge. So I'm very glad to set this precedent today and approve it.
So 4 of these meetings are Zoom meetings. Because I might not be in Aurora. And then there is a couple of meetings, one in Albany, and they change around. The last one was in Lake Placid, which it's a nice area to visit, and there's business and pleasure involved with it. But so there's probably about 6 meetings a year, and then I can get information to whoever in the town that wants it, or specifically who's handling our budget, Kathleen, and it's very helpful information. Also, if we have any comp issues, I can point people in the right direction. So I like doing it for now, and they asked me to do it, and it's up to you guys.
Sounds good with me.
You guys are good with it? We'll move on. All right, the community pool park. We got to close out the capital project. There's a remaining, we took $400,000 out of the American Rescue Plan. And what was left was $8,506. And I think I gave you guys an idea last time what we have, but it would, as of June, because there could be a couple of things that Dave took out of it, like the locks for the bathroom and stuff.
I saw that, yeah.
But it wasn't a lot. But as of June, we had $88,866.17. So any questions on that?
No, just to say, the pool has been very busy and looks great. But it really is getting the use. I think it was a good job for Chuck doing all that work, and great to set that as our priority because it is a gem for the community. It really does get a lot of use.
Well, thank you, Luke. And I can say that to come in, a few $1,000s under budget, because as Jim says, we allotted 400,000. That was, we certainly didn't end up with the project that we have. This has been a long procedure, hasn't it, Jim? And Martha's been in on it. It started with a center pavilion over towards where the snack shack is, and it ended up with what we have, and it really is just about perfect. And I'm glad that it works out great. Thank you, Luke.
I think it was money well spent. And for years to come, it'll be a great park. Again, Chuck, good job. Thank you all for supporting it. And it's just good to see it being used. And the tennis courts and the pickleball courts are full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I do think it's a good candidate as well for a playground grant that we can look into. So we should make a note to talk to Senator Gallivan about potentially working with their office to apply for one of those.
sure. And I don't know if you saw the pavilion and the picnic tables.
Yeah.
At president of our Kiwanis Club, Chuck Snyder, went over and stained those, and they look really good too. So it's really looking nice over there.
They're so shiny. I went to sit on one, slipped right off.
That's not a compliment.
No, it looks really sharp. It does. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Turned out well.
All right. Next, we have the court clerk's request to attend conference. This is from Jeff Marcello, the Honorable. Approval is requested to allow Elizabeth Wilbur and Maureen Kenny to attend the year's annual New York State Association Magistrate Court Clerk Conference from September 17th through the 20th, 2023 at Turning Stone Resort. No gambling allowed in Verona. And the conference is $100 per person. And double occupancy is $650 per person for a 3-night hotel. So the total will be $1,516. Any questions on that? This is your first one, Elizabeth?
Let's make sure we notify the security staff at the casino. Elizabeth's coming.
If we give you a few bucks, could you, gamble it for us?
It's not your bag. You're not a gambler.
All right, and we have another one, and this is from Stephen Pigeon, our assessor, for the 2023 Fall Conference. the Assessors Association and Education Conference. And that's to be held October 3rd to the 6th, 2023 at the Hilton in Saratoga Springs. And they go over rules of real property tax administration and such. They have a dedicated reimbursement policy, including mileage that covers the association, or I'm sorry, the assessment officials. So there would be no cost to the town. We want to go to that? Of course. Okay. And next we have the Davis Road resident request for easement on town property. And would you like to come up to the mic, please? Give us your name, state your name and address.
Can I sit?
That microphone comes out if you want, or whatever works for you.
Yeah, Chaz, even though we can hear you, it's for the recording. If you can just take the microphone and speak into it, make
For
sure.
posterity, sure.
Yeah.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for letting me come in.
Just name and address.
Chaz Vance, 1963 Davis Road, West Falls, 14170.
Is that microphone?
Give us a little bit, give us
Okay, all right.
an interview or just an overview of what you have in mind.
I sent a letter, which I don't know whether everybody, did you see or
We
read?
all have, yeah.
So I don't want to be too redundant, but basically it's been a few years since I headed down to the basement and put my foot in a couple feet of water. And I've been busy at every angle, different resource that I could kind of think of, and professionally, I'm not useless. So I was working on it as best I could myself. And it's come to asking for help, which I'm happy to do. And I've got a, good reason. And so I feel like I've got a pretty good reason, and I'm happy to see. I did the whole chicken thing with a different board, but it was many visits and a variety of steps. So I don't know what to expect, but I don't absolutely need you to okay my full blown plan right now. I just can't move forward without digging in property that doesn't belong to me. So I'm here to ask if we can find out a way for me to get started and do something about an issue that I have with my property. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did put a call into the DOT because I know they're going to be doing some road construction there, and drainage. And they are going to check into possibly tying into their drainage. There's going to be a drainage pipe that goes right next to the library across the street. But I'm not, they gave me no answer yet, so.
The issue that I think is going to continue to come up is elevation, because I'm currently tied into the state's storm drains, but that's a good 5 or 6 feet above
Right.
my basement's floor. And so what I really like to do here is go back to what's been the precedent here, which is to passively allow the water to flow away at the appropriate rate, rather than paying in a variety of different ways, which I've been experiencing for the past couple of years now, add up quickly, to actively get it to go away. I wouldn't have said to begin with that was a good idea, but I can tell you I've been at it for a couple of years. Super not a good idea. I really think it needs to flow away. And I really think that that was basically what's been going on for a long time. I'm just trying to get back to that situation and improve upon the way in which it used to work, so that nobody else is to run into this issue if they're, in the future, myself or another owner or anything. So.
Because I know a number of, well, at least I think anyways, but I'm pretty confident there's a number of neighbors of yours that have the same issue. Have you had an opportunity to speak with them at all? Get any idea what the numbers are of the people on the, I presume on the west side of Davis Road that are having this problem?
We're between, we're in the watershed from the highland to the creek. So, right, the big road cuts us off, and there's going to be a nice fresh rebuild to all the public culverts that get those rivulets from the one side to the other. But I'm essentially either in one or there's a spring there. And so there's nothing for me as a private owner for that. But the end of it is in a public park. Otherwise, the private owner would have to take care of himself, and I'd be happy to do that. And I'd go right over to the end of it on my property and I'd fix it, but it's not my property. And none of us were even alive when the decision was made to put it through where it goes. So I just hope that we can, regardless of that, just kind of figure out a way to get the matter handled.
And you mentioned that, I think, to the gentleman that came out to West Falls to talk about or you had the question anyways, and
But a bunch of people came out, so who
Well,
are
I
you
thought
talking
I
about?
thought you did too, but you, didn't you ask them the question? They mentioned they were raising the road, so that was gonna be an additional problem for you.
Oh, are you talking down to the meeting about the
Yeah,
DOT
yeah.
project? I didn't want to capitalize on everybody else. I mean, it's just my issue.
No,
I
it's
was
a
trying
good
not to
question,
suck up a
though.
bunch of time, but yeah, how is that all gonna?
And they're not,
It's not really
In
their
any way,
problem,
they're not
you
their
know? In fact, the entirety of their right of way, if you look at the map that I sent in, which is a huge portion of the route, for the entirety of the state's right of way, it works flawlessly. Just as you get into Aurora's Park is where the end's obstructed due to being outlet underwater into the flow, erosion, etc. That's the problem area. Really, it's in the town of Aurora. So here I am.
And is the DOT, I don't remember what he said during the meeting, but are they planning on keeping that pipe? They're not going to dig that out with the road reconstruction.
They wouldn't actively excavate it to either remove it or to service it or replace it or anything. It's a great deal deeper than their project. And again, between that and being from a plan view perspective, totally off their property.
How deep would you say that is?
Where are we talking?
When it's going up
under the road.
under the road, how deep is that?
From the one side, from my side, it's about, because the sond, we were out there locating it, and he was talking about the sond giving him, he's telling me it's uncommonly deep and it's under the road, which is uncommonly dense. And he's real good with the thing. So he's essentially telling me he's interpreting now what he's getting for a signal there, but it would be about 6-7 feet deep on my end and another 8 or 10 feet deep on the far side of the asphalt. Because really the road
Okay.
is rolling kind of in that direction.
And by the time you get to the town property, because you want to keep the gravity going that way.
Right, it's going
you'd have to
downhill
even go
further.
deeper.
But it's not what the elevation of the surface of the earth does there. So from the road down into the town park is a great deal. It's a great drop in elevation.
Mhm.
And so it's an ideal, if it's at a reasonable fall, it'll be less than 6-7 feet down, which is what I can personally dig with my personal machine. If I'm getting into deeper, we're below the water level at that point of the creek. And of course, that's all something that I'm not prepared to just go on over there and dig.
So,
massive
so
holes.
here's what would be involved
Mhm.
with this. If we start at the point in your basement, run it out there, we don't know exactly, as you say, that might be 6 feet below that existing bank. We don't know,
Right. I
but
don't
it
know
could
either.
be
Right.
6 feet deep there. That bank, that grade pitches up 18 inches, maybe 24 inches before it reaches to where that sluice is. And you put a little pitch on there, you could easily be 10 feet deep before you cut into that sluice.
Well, I'm not talking about the sluice. I'm just adjacent next to the sluice, but
Well, you got to go through it. You got to cut through that stone that we were
Yes.
looking at this morning here. That stone, it's some pavement, some stone, some mortar in there, just placed in there to give it a runoff spot.
potentially, yes. But I have come down to say that basically I've looked at everything that I can do without going to dig around a little bit and just see where exactly it is there, well away from the water's edge. And I wouldn't go over there with a shovel and presume to do that. I've done a few little, improvisational things like that. And immediately, bam, shouldn't be over there doing stuff. So before I even get started with a hand shovel, I wanted to come down. I haven't done anything over there to dig. But I would like to somehow, some way, be given the okay to do what I would call like a discovery, where we go digging and just see if we can't get to it right where I've plotted it by all the other ways in which I've tried to plot it there. Because really, we don't know anything about its elevation or its exact location until it's been exposed. And now I can use the sidewall to get an angle or to project the center line of it. It's just right
Are
there.
you going to
So
dig that with an excavator? Or are you going to poke
So-
around with a shovel?
So if it would be all right to go over there and do it with a shovel, I figured if I could go over there and do it with an excavator, it would be more efficient for everyone. And if there's a couple of hoops that I've got to jump through there of any kind, just let me know what they are and see if I can't jump through the hoops or go get started with the hand shovel. I own excavating equipment. I'm a consummate professional. I understand the environmental risks and would have to be in keeping with the EPA over there. And it'd all be on your radar. I just as soon use the excavating equipment because it's easier on my body and my time, but I can just do it with a shovel.
Well, I think a shovel would be a great start. If you dig around there and you can't find anything, we go on from that maybe. But I mean, you're going to have to take guardrails down and so on to get an excavator in there.
This sounds a lot more involved. Wouldn't it be more reasonable and cheaper, just maybe put a sump pump in?
No, is the short answer. But I'm
How do
happy
you
to
know that? Do you
explain.
know what the cost would be to do what you want to do? We would have to probably get our engineer involved. Right?
Well,
Be digging 10 feet down on town.
if he
property?
does dig 10 feet down, but if he just pokes around there with a shovel, with a hand shovel, and finds the end of that pipe where it's plugged,
Then we can do all the actual math and really know
and
the
then,
depth
and
of
then
things.
clear that pipe
Yeah,
and let it run out where it runs out now.
that's a start. That's a start. I'd love that.
But how deep would you have to go with the shovel?
He's.
We
gonna
won't
be
know
right
until
on
I
the
get
edge of the
going.
Creek, he won't be,
You're talking about putting your feet in the creek and working into the bank?
Yeah,
Because I think that's what Chuck's envisioning.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. The problem there is
dig down 7 feet with a hand shovel,
underwater, not to mention that's all sediment
not even above
deposits.
water.
Well, it's silt deposit there, so it's not going to be like standing on the nice hard packed bank. This is why I say I just as soon work well away from the water line, well away from the water's edge, and just go down right along the line where I've projected the pipe to be, like we would in any other circumstances
No,
professionally.
I'm
in my-
thinking just as Joe just said, get your feet right in the water there and dig right on that edge there and see if you can poke around and find the end of that pipe.
Okay,
Because in is obviously we came out to take a look. Once you get to that depth, you got to shore up that trench. We can't have somebody digging some of that deep and then jump in there looking for a pipe. If everything caves in
right.
and we're liable, you're operating on town property. We can't let you do something that could potentially hurt yourself, right?
Correct. I'm
Yeah.
well aware that what I'm trying to do is, with all of us together, establish what all the things that would need to be in place so that we could be sure without a shadow of a doubt that there would be an issue like that. And then I can go ahead and get started doing that as well. Because again, I'm here because I genuinely believe that it's important that the line flow and to rebuild what's there is a problem because you never outlet water underwater. You've got all different types of dynamic changing things all the time with the flow and the sediment building up and everything.
But it
You
worked
always
for
let it
100
fall.
years.
You let it
It
fall
worked
off.
for 100 years.
It's got a steel sleeve in it already. So
Yeah.
it worked until they needed to steel sleeve it. Now the steel sleeve has failed. And I'm the closest thing the building owner's ever been to somebody who truly understands all the different things that are going on. And it still had me scratching my head for a couple of years and spinning my wheels and spending time and money on it. And so I feel good about where I've gotten to now, which is where I'm going with this is it was sleeved once before. It's failed again. Because fundamentally, it needs to, like Liz has told me on several occasions, under certain circumstances with the stormwater, it's got to go to daylight. It's got to go to a free fall. It can't be going underwater. The flow and the level of the water influence the way it behaves in the line. Not to mention, it can be broken, bent over, obstructed, eroded, melted in, covered, et cetera, which is what's been going on in the bank there for some time now. So I just as soon not waste everybody's time, get through all the whole process to go in there and redo that. And then at some point, have another failure. My full plan was to turn it and head out through next to the sluice, because then of course it would fall off as it should. And presumably being constructed of plastic as well, another 100 years of zero issue. Which when I do anything professionally, I don't want to come back around to this. I have income property upstairs. I did it in a way that I don't have to come back and fix it. I work for customers for over a decade. I don't do stuff that people are going to have to come back and fix. Try to make an improvement, which is the idea.
So just so I'm clear, are you asking if you can take a shovel in there and poke around a little bit and see if you can find the end of that pipe?
Yes, I'd be happy to be given permission to
And
do a
limit it
physical
just to that.
investigation of it. Yeah, that'd be fine.
No machines,
Right.
no,
Because then we can talk about, we got to go to this depth over here. That's, digging over here at the deepest X feet and inches. We know all these things. If I could find that line where I think it is.
I would
Let me-
refer to our.
A couple of questions here. Yeah, I don't know if it's for Liz or Bridget. Would this be considered a private easement that has been grandfathered in under public property?
Grandfathered in?
Well, because it was never, did anyone set the private easement?
There is no easement. There is no easement. If we were gonna do. If this turns into a serious project, an easement would be one of the things that are required. And I'm not sure that. The full-on excavation project that you have in mind rises to the level of an appropriate instance in which the town should incur the risk of having a private resident digging around on public land when that's all public risk. As a town, we're not really supposed to be giving special benefits or favors to individual residents. If this was something for an entire district and entire segment of the town, it would be an important community project, but it's tough we won't be able to go. It would not be advisable to go very far with this project if it's only for the benefit of one residence.
I understand what you're saying. I wonder though, if it's directly to our benefit of the residents there. There's more than one family there to start with. There's tenants. But unlike the average homeowner in the village there, it's a relatively more significant property in some ways. And it's a historical property. And I've spent 10 years living in it just to be able to afford to do as much as I've done with it to the extent that I have. Currently in the middle of a cash out refinance to do more significant work on it. But this issue precludes doing all of that. And honestly, if it had spent the last 10 years under different owners, I don't think it would look or be what it is today remotely. And so if you want to let it slide downhill like that and leave one of the centers of that little community to be like that and cut up and kind of slummy, most likely, that would have been the alternative. And I didn't come down here and ask that anybody congratulate me or anything. But if you wanted to bring up whether it directly helps out anyone else, and also none of us here were alive when the tile was dug and put into the location it is, that it causes you to bring on the risk that you do if someone goes over to do anything. Again, I'm here to come up with together the least risky way to address something that would help me invest hundreds of thousands of dollars more into it and leave it there. If it's the only thing that I do on earth, is a nice piece of Aurora history in the town. And I've run into a lot of red tape, but in this way, again, I'm happy to jump through all the little hoops. There's got to be some way that I can get the problem solved, because to be honest with you, the rate at which the water comes in, which I'm prepared to show you, is unbelievable. If someone's not paying exorbitant power cost and managing the replacement of the components that it takes to be in service, to move the water out 8-10 months of the year, the height of summer when the folks have come to look at it, not being the only time that it comes close to stopping, it would just, the place would implode.
So I understand that. Can I just jump in real quick? One of the things that we discussed, obviously any work, the expense of this project has to be borne by you, because
Right.
as our town attorney said, it's to the benefit of one property.
Sure.
One of the possibilities that was floated, and I don't know if this is possible, is issuing an RFP, a request for proposals. And if you met the criteria to be the contractor that did the job, bearing all insurance, bearing all responsibility for the creek, bearing responsibility for the dam, it would be a tremendous amount of responsibility, but
Right.
you would basically have to be a contractor doing this, even though you're doing it for your own benefit. Is that even remotely possible?
I don't think I could
You
go
couldn't
for
go.
that, Joe,
No.
without certainly some references and speaking to previous owners that you have done work 12 feet deep. And I mean, you're not going to do that alone.
So-
I don't know about that.
Gotcha.
There's another issue here.
Well,
The property that you're looking at is also, we're giving an easement to the New York State DOT. They need to have that property while they're doing the construction.
I see.
So that's another issue that they're gonna have equipment. They're using it for a staging area. So I don't see how you could be
Yeah.
digging it up and
Well, that
we've
is-
already went through the paperwork to give them an easement on that, and we're giving them an easement on the property next to the library, adjacent to the library, for a drainage ditch. That's the one I was talking to you about, because the present ditch goes right under the library. It was probably there before they built the library.
Right.
And they wanted to change it and have a permanent easement to be able to access that drainage ditch for further repairs or maintenance. Your line, if it's 100 years old, could fail after you do all this work. I still don't understand why a simple sump pump wouldn't answer your problems.
I've currently been running a professional wastewater pump that's a 2-inch outlet nonstop for years, to the point that it had to be replaced at least once. And so I'm in the middle of the second one somewhere. It's completely cast iron. It's designed for garbage water. It's not designed for clean, easy to pump sump operation. It's probably 2 to 3 times more expensive than the nicest sump pump that's going to be on the shelf at a box store. And I've already smoked one of them. Again, I can show you the 4-inch line solid running into the DI out front for 6 to 7 months at least all year long. It's an incredible amount of water that actively comes into the basement, and it would have consumed the property, and it would be foreclosed and condemned by now if somebody hadn't always been either A, benefiting from the conditions in the creek, keeping that flowing, which it must do for decades at a time, because again, we talk about flooding or different circumstances with a creek in 50, 100 year, whatever kind of references. So you get along for good long chunks of time, but there's been a time in the past when someone felt it was necessary to sleeve it with steel from that outlet side. And here we are again with another failure. And so I'm thinking, well, it's enough of a push and rigmarole and all this, everyone's here, it's time and energy to get in and fix it so it flows again like someone did before, which should be possible because they did it once. I'd love to do with all of that. I'd love to do a much better solution. And this was something that struck me when I was talking to Mark Gaston down there, the two of us, and both of us thought it was a good idea because it solves basically the whole issue. So if you look at the map, the green line showing excavating along next to the creek. We're better and better off the further from the water's edge that we can be with that. But as we move away from the water's edge, we go uphill to the asphalt, and then we're into the asphalt, et cetera. Because anywhere you head this thing off and take it to daylight, it's going to be way better than the way where it is. I'm simply trying to work within what's grass and not tear into the asphalt over there. I won't need any kind of staging or anything else big, and it won't be more than one individual. I'm going to be replacing the entire sewer to the road on 791 Lawrence this summer in another month or so in the village here. Construct a line on the ground, set it in. I can work from the house end, and I can work under scaffold at the far side to make the connection, and I'm done. In this case here, can make the piece on the ground, set it into
It
place.
would not be that simple, Chaz. Don't try and tell us that. So it would not be that simple. You got to have room to put the spoils. Where are you going to set that?
Yes.
10
I don't want to
feet
get into a
there.
bunch of esoteric stuff
you
for the
dig.
board.
And then on top of that, you're going to need to put barricades in there, and you should shelf that back at that depth.
Rest
It's going to
assured.
be it's a very dangerous dig.
Rest
And I would
assured,
not be for that myself.
I don't shy away from a challenge. It's what I literally do for a living, is I accept kind of challenging projects. We've lifted and replaced the foundation in the village this year. It's just myself, some help sometimes, my contractors, et cetera, because I sit down and work through all the steps that are going to end up being necessary. I've asked in this case for you all to be involved in figuring out what it is that we got to make sure of, whom I may reach out to on my own time and my own dime to make sure I've got those bases covered. So get down to doing something. Again, considerations like that are very valid. I don't want to be down there goofing around thinking there's any chance that Chuck Snyder is going to be standing there telling me I told you so. I'd like for you to be happy with the circumstances under which before I even get started, because we've looked at all this stuff. I know,
So you wouldn't be here to tell that I told you so.
well, yeah, but I mean, I'm not looking for negativity.
So I
I'm
think
looking
we're-
to identify the problems
Okay, all right,
and
all
work
right,
through them.
all right. I think we're going to go with this. I have a call into the DOT. I think we need to discuss this with them. As far as using the town property, I would refer to my town attorney, and she does not think it's a good idea, so I wouldn't be for it. But I'd like to see what answers the DOT could probably do to help you with this when they do the road. But again, I'm
I
not going to sit
appreciate
here and
that,
argue
but I
with
thought
you.
we
I'm
can't-
just going to tell you that our town attorney does not agree with what you want to do, and that's why we hire a town attorney. And as far as I'm concerned, what she says is gospel to me. But there might be an alternative for the DOT when they do the road and some of the drainage. Maybe there's something you could pump up to it with your, I don't know, but to me, it seems like a very dangerous, very costly. The town is really putting itself at risk, and I agree with the town attorney, and I would not be for this.
So what is this, the status of this pipe? Is it a pipe on town property, Bridget, or is it a town pipe, or is there some sort of easement that has been created for the pipe? It's just, it is town property all the way down.
Yes.
Except for 240, or is that that has an easement over the.
Well, I mean, in the
Well, the
park,
last-
in the
the
park
last
part,
30
yeah,
feet.
right.
Right.
So the park part, there's nothing has been created here that makes that pipe Chaz's pipe,
Unfortunately not.
right? It is just the town's pipe.
Mhm.
So I think we have, I mean, for me, is working through whether or not it is even legally possible. Did you make the determination that it is not?
I think that the town board has the authority to permit this to happen. and subject probably to, I don't know that you would want to grant approval to a private citizen to commence work.
Right.
If you wanted to approve this, you would probably need to have input from the town engineer. You would need to bid it out. No offense to you, you could submit a competitive bid if you want to, but you need to get the lowest qualified bid to get on the job.
Right.
Once you have that price, Mr. Vance would have to cover the cost of that work. So there are a lot of steps between here and there if the board even thinks that this is something that it wants to do.
Right. So this is not something that's unprecedented. There are other private projects on public lands.
It's very unusual and it's ill-advised. You don't want to, a municipality does not want to get in the business of supporting individual residents. You're here to,
Isn't the municipality
Serve
made
the-
of residents?
yeah, but you're here.
Wouldn't it behoove me to really push you guys to help me to do something over the property that I'm desperately trying to develop into something that's a sustainable piece of real
You
estate?
understand this is about liability. That's what
Of
we're
course.
talking about.
So how do we get through that problem? Which is what Luke's
There-
asking.
Yeah.
How do we get through the problem of it being a liability? Because outside of that being on paper, we can see that a citizen of the town has done quite a bit of work on the property. And as a professional, I've determined that it needs to actively manage the water better before you can do anything more with it.
Yeah, I think that the answer is that you need to find a contractor that is willing to do it and spend the money.
Is there something wrong with me being
I
a
gotta
contractor with
disagree.
insurance myself?
So, pardon me?
I don't think that we should do it, but if we.
I'm
could
not
just
saying that
add-
we should, but I think that's one of the many issues.
I'm just wondering
Could-
where the
one
problem
of
is
the things
between
that
me being the person
Mr.
who.
Vance said was just to poke around where that pipe
Mhm.
might exit with a shovel to see if this has only been plugged, and I say only, for 3 years. I doubt that that's, if it was working just fine 3 years ago, it can't be all that far up in there. What would it take from our town attorney, if anything, to allow that to happen? I don't see a problem with poking around with a shovel
Yeah,
myself, but that's.
yeah, no, I have to give that some thought. I didn't come in here tonight.
I'd add that
expecting to-
it would give us a lot more information, which is why I'm at the worst case scenario, willing to go over and sweat it out to do that, because it really adds a lot of info.
I think, yeah, I mean, as an attorney myself, I love saying no and that the things are not allowed and it's too much of a risk. But I know Chuck, you and Joe were down there and looked at the problem. I was on vacation, so I wasn't able to get down there. I would like to take a look and see. The shoveling actually seems to be a bit of an issue. I would say hold off on that now until Bridget can get a handle on that. I mean, it doesn't, if we authorize you to go down there and you slip and fall, that liability is on us, it would seem. So let's think about, is there a proper way that we can do that? But let's try to find a solution for that part at least. And then once you have that information, if we are able to get to a point where we're comfortable here getting with you shoveling and having, your insurance and everything taken care of on that.
That's my question is, what different, I understand needing to have a bid and then the lowest bidder, but whether or not I could actually do the work and be covered by my own insurance policy, I'm happy to provide what I've got for an insurance policy.
Yeah,
I back up the bus here, guys. You're missing the point that we're giving an easement to the DOT for that piece of property. They're going to be using that piece of property.
We
You won't
shouldn't be in one
you will
another's
not be
way there.
Able to.
Well, I
do-
think that shoveling around is.
No, but I'm
not gonna
talking,
affect-
he can shovel, if the town attorney says that's okay, that's fine. But and if he finds that he still has to dig, he's not going to be able to dig. There's
Why is
an
that?
easement on that piece of property.
Oh, I see. Oh, as a
So
piece
the
of property,
state-
it's
the
ours.
state already has an easement on the
Yes.
property.
Yes.
No, so you have to go to the
That's
DOT.
significant.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to use that, they want a permanent easement next to the library for access to the pipe. They want the easement where you're talking about digging for staging all their equipment while they're doing the road.
Has that begun yet?
So,
No,
I'm sorry.
When does that begin?
well, it has begun in that they've taken measurements and they've talked to neighbors and they've done things like that. So that aspect of it has already begun.
I didn't know if the easement to park up in there and stuff
And
like
then
that starts.
can
at a
we
certain
drain-
time.
do we have to go to the DEC? I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot of steps.
Oh, yeah.
there's just too much,
So-
just too much here.
DC, state,
I'm
By the
just,
time you get all the engineering, it would have to be done by our engineer. And I mean, they're gonna be doing the road probably. So, I mean,
I'll wait.
done by your engineer.
you'll wait.
And
You
approved
said
by.
you have 2 foot of water in
approved
your
by our
basement.
town engineer.
I'm actively pumping it. So the shorter amount of time that goes on for, the better. And so if I get things going and do as much as I can to where the easement's over.
You
and the
just don't,
DOT
you don't want to have to actively pump it in, for the next 100 years, is what you're saying.
Right, for the duration. It's my forever
That's
home. I
part of
like
what
to
you're
think.
saying.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I'd be
so-
happy to wait if that's a problem.
Oh, right. So one of
I'm
the
down
things
here
I
to be,
was,
I'm down here to be cooperative. I'm not down here to be a problem, but it's a serious
understand
problem.
I understand
We're
that.
trying to help you the best way we can.
Well, those are good,
You
those are
might
good
be asked-
problems that you're talking about. I'll
Yeah.
wait. Honestly, if they got to get it there, I'll wait.
if I could just finish my thought for
Sure,
a second, yes. You've come to us with one solution. And you're saying, I've come to the board to ask for their help. The one solution you have, we're having a bit of a problem with, I am anyways, even just with the digging, I'm having a problem with that. My thought is that I think I mean, I would prefer to have an engineer come out there and take a look at it and write a report for us. But the other thing too that might be helpful, and I don't know as much as Chuck does about engineering and you about engineering, but if you have a number of neighbors that are having the same problem, that may be something that possibly could work into the DOT plan, where it's helping with all the neighbors. I know at West Falls, we Center for the Arts, we don't have a basement, but it's still an issue. It's still a problem that water needs from time to time to be pumped out because the floors bow and things like that. So if we're a quarter mile down from you, it's got to be a problem for everybody else down there. And I'm thinking if you could maybe, and I'm happy to help you, go door to door and knock and say, look, is this a problem? Maybe we can come up with a solution now that DOT is putting some money into this area and they want to do it right.
Well, you were there at the meeting and I got
Right.
the distinct impression that
Yeah, but you as one person who has a very significant in this process, but you as one person. And I think maybe if there were 10 or 20 people that said, hey, we all have this problem.
I wouldn't know whether it sounds like it would be something.
I think
I
there's
don't
be a
have
little
enough
bit of
experience to know
that's what I'm
whether-
asking you to do as far as your neighbors.
Honestly,
I
I'm
think
not a lazy
from-
man, but I'm having enough trouble getting to this point after a few years of getting through all the steps that it's been on the process of
Well,
getting
that's
to here,
okay.
honestly.
This is your solution. So that's.
I
I'm
think
just,
to
I'm just saying
proceed-
there's only so much time in the day and it's taken me kind of a couple of years because it's taken me a lot of time and money to put kind of the solution together. And I thought I was here being able to point to, listen, 10 years in the place where it was before I got it
Jim, I
down.
have one more question, and that's Mark. You said that Mark Gaston was down there.
Mark's been there a few times
Yeah.
and we've had some conversations
And
about
what
it.
was his? I mean, they're an agency that can work on private land. Even what was his?
He told me when I gave him this and I said, I'm going to ask the board to, at the very least, let me discover and release the pressure so that it goes back to working like it used to and more than that, that idea that I had when we were there talking to turn it and go out for the dam that we liked, I'd like to do that. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, I would start with letting it, finding it and letting it flow. I'd talk about doing more as a second level to the idea. And whatever they end up letting you do, if you need anything with the DEA, he would compose that for me. DEC, excuse me. He would compose.
Now you brought the DEA into it.
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking of DEC. If you needed anything from that, he would be
It's a
happy to
magical-
write it for me or put it in motion.
One more quick question, Chaz. You say that you're pumping that now. I know you are pumping that now, and you're pumping it into a storm sewer.
Right,
Where is that?
right
storm
out
sewer?
front,
The one in
directly out front of the place.
a DI?
Mhm.
Did you bust through it to pump into it?
Not personally, but it's got a penetration in it that's connected to my sump pump now. Otherwise, the intersection would have been a sheet of ice. Because again, it's a crazy amount of water.
Well, I saw the water.
You didn't see anything when you were out recently, with respect. It's unbelievable when it starts going. It just goes again for the better part of the year, nonstop 4-inch outlet. Just
Which
Yeah.
could cause problems.
So we're not going round and round here and we can move on. I think the progression here would be, the town attorney is going to investigate whether you go and clean the pipe out. In the meantime, I've already contacted DOT. I'm going to contact our town attorney or a town engineer and ask the town engineer to meet us out there
Okay.
and look over the situation and get an idea from an engineer's perspective.
Jim, I would recommend we get Mark out there too.
Well, before I even get Mark out there,
Yeah.
I want to hear from our town engineer.
This,
Nothing against Mark, but I think we need to know, start with this.
That's fine. I would be happy to have it happen under any circumstances, have an improvement. The only problem that I've got is to spend all of our time and effort, my own included, and come up with pumping it constantly. Because, and that's why I reached out initially to see who, it really was Luke, who wants to come down and look and see. And it's unfortunate that it isn't. It's the perfect time of year for it to be the smallest amount of flow. But all the other video that I've got and stuff, I really think you need to see what an incredible problem it is, because trying to actively
Okay.
pump it is really crazy.
yeah, I think
Again,
that's a.
this is going to be the progression, and I will let you know when I get hold
Like
of
be a
our
part of it, I
engineer,
Zoom, right? Okay.
and you can meet us out there. Okay.
Sounds good.
And I mean, we have to have some kind of steps to take here. And then I would like Bridget to research her end of it, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I would like nothing more than for us all to figure out all the steps. That's fine. I didn't come down for an easy, quick fix. Thank you.
Everyone here would like to see a solution.
Okay, good, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
How about a pool in your basement? Is that a workable
It's
solution?
happened already. You don't want that.
No, okay.
You don't, nobody wants
Just
that. So I'm waiting to hear from you, Mr. Bach.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will call the engineer tomorrow and see what the availability would be to meet us. And if someone else from the board wants to go, let me know.
Yeah, I may come down too if works out schedule.
We can't have more than
Two of us, yeah.
so, but and then we'll see what Bridget says, and I guess we just have to take it step by step. He might have some ideas. I'd like to still hear from the DOT on this. They might have a solution, who knows?
Right.
Okay,
That's great. I appreciate it.
all right.
Yes, thank you.
All right, that's it on the work session, unless board members have anything they want to discuss. No? Okay. Then we'll go right on to the regular meeting. And there are no public hearings tonight, so I'll move for approval of the July 10th, 2023 minutes.
Second.
Luke and Joe. Next, we have audience, and this is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to address the board on any items that are on the agenda. If you do so, please come up to the mic and give us your name and address.
You don't want us to vote on the minutes, do you?
What's that?
You don't want us to vote on the minutes or anything, do you?
Didn't we vote on? No. Oh. See, I'm trying to rush it around. I'm sorry.
I,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried.
I didn't even catch that though. So what does that mean about me, right? Jim and I are in the same wavelength here.
Thanks for not embarrassing me, Jim.
I moved my mic.
Okay. Audience, no one from the audience, right? So unfinished business, none. New business, we go to the 2024 budget calendar. We all reviewed the dates. Any questions, comments? If not, could I have a motion to adopt the 2024 budget calendar?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second,
second by Chuck. Do you guys want to vote on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next is a request from me to be the liaison for the Comp Alliance. Do you need me to read this again, or you guys all understand that I would just be the liaison for the Comp Alliance at no cost to town and no obligation to the town? All good?
Yeah.
So you guys would have to make the motion and the vote. They can't really vote on it.
Right, well, I'll make the motion. I do have a question, but I'll make a motion that Jim does not have to read this again, but that he be approved as our liaison to the Compensation Alliance Board of Trustees per his letter dated July 24th, 2023.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chuck. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, in your letter, it indicates that the town board has to vote on it in January. So what are we doing now? Is this sort of a preliminary so that
You don't have to vote on it in January except for to adopt the reorg. So
Okay.
So those are
what we
easy.
would be doing is putting me on the reorg and then you guys would just accept it or not accept it.
Well, reorgs are easy. So yeah, well,
But what is the vote today, though? What is the?
To put it on the reorg.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
what's the term? Is it just 1 year or?
It's 1 year.
Yeah.
So I would just, if I wanted to continue, if they wanted me to continue, I would just ask the following year if you wanted me to continue. If not,
And what term will your planning board appointment be?
it's from
6
July to
years?
July. So the planning board. You almost snuck that one in. Oh, boy.
I'm not going to revoke my motion, so it's still out there.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I recuse myself. Thank you, guys. I'll try to keep the comp as low as I can. All right, next is our community pool park capital project closeout. This is from Kathleen Moffett. The community pool and park improvements capital projects are complete with remaining cash balance of $8,506. The project was funded with ARPA fund monies. And she requests to approve to transfer $8,506 from H10 to the A fund ARPA and close out the capital project. The remaining funds as of June in the ARPA fund is $88,866.17. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next is a request from Jeff Markello. And this is to send the court clerks to 2023 NYSAMMCC conference. I don't know what that is. It's for Elizabeth Wilbur and Maureen Kenny to attend this year's annual State Association Magistrate Court Clerks Conference from September 17th through the 20th at Turning Stone Resort. Cost to be $100 per person. $658 per person, includes a 3-night hotel stay. Total cost would be $1,516 to come from A1110.415 budget line. Any questions? Not, I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried. E, we have the request from Stephen Pigeon, our assessor, to attend the 2023 New York State Assessors Fall Conference. And that's going from October 3rd to the 6th, 2023 in the Hilton in Saratoga Springs. This is paid through the association, and the reimbursement will include mileage to the assessor's officials. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe, motion by Jim. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Okay, next we have a donation for the rec department. This is from Chris. It's a donation for the July 3rd celebration to go into the A2080-1. And this is for $100 from Elaine Dominski and $100 from Matthew Foss. Were these for anything in particular, Chris, like the bands or
Bands.
bands? Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, towards the bands. Great. I have a motion
I'll make that motion.
by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and that is carried. Next, we have another donation from Donna Bodecker, the Senior Center. She requesting we accept the donation of $120 from Birch Meyer, her and Keel families in memory of Don Carroll. We'd like the money to be placed in the TA 1000.90 line. Do we have a motion?
Another one on the second page.
Oh, okay. Should I do them separately? I can, all right. All right, that's one, and then we have another one I didn't see. And this is for $150 for the Stewart and Bell Carza families in the memory of Don Carl. Must have been a popular guy. Be placed in a TA 1000.90 line. Do I have a motion to accept both donations?
So moved.
Motion by Jim,
I'll second.
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed, and that is carried. Next, we have Chris. Request from Christmas Haven, budget line increase request. He's asking for approval to increase the lines listed below to reflect additional revenue generated from registrations of our golf program and vendor expenses that are soon to follow. So the new balance, originally budgeted was $1,000 and the amount of the increase was $885. So the new balance would be $1,885. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any questions?
So Chris, that's, oh, there. So it's more people registered for the golf program than anticipated. And as a result, we have to spend a little more money on the golf program. Just, is that track? All right, thank you.
Yeah, looking at it, it was very popular for adults and for the kids as well. So nice work getting the people out there.
Yeah, it works out. We got a great instructor.
Good.
Yeah, the program, I mean, really, this morning I started off taking my kid to the camp, Hamlin Day camp. We were at the pool over the weekend. You had the chess camp up here with 20 plus kids. Really is great to see all these programs out in the community. They're very popular, a lot going on. So it's looking good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have a request from Kathleen Moffett. And she wants the budget transfer of $1,500. And this is for court security officer and part-time contractual to correct an overdrawn appropriation account. Do I have a motion to approve as listed?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Chuck, second by Luke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried, and I would move to table the next request for further information. So I need a motion to table the request for easement on town property.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Joe, second by Luke. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Communication and reports. We have the June 2023 town clerk tax, town clerk water, dog control, and work requisitions. I'll go right to business from the board members, and I'll start with Joe.
So exciting news. The grant application for a new comprehensive plan was approved by the Erie County Legislature. Sure. So we're going to have some more coming. It's be careful what you ask for. So more details to follow. Dan Castle will be in touch. We should get a letter. It's going to be a big project. So it's going to be exciting. And we'll roll with it as it comes. But this was a big win. It was a $60,000 grant from the county.
Oh, good news.
This was absolutely fantastic. Long time in the making and great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah. So it should be good.
Anything else?
Open Space Committee is going to mark the trails over at Majors Park. And, with the eventual goal, now that the cabin's gone, we should take a hard look at bringing the trail up through there as well. But that'll be the next part of the project. So.
Good.
Yep. That's what I got.
I'm going to pass that.
I just want to mention that tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I'll be meeting with contractors, hopefully, anyway, to go through the storage building over at the Main Street Library. So I hope that there's at least 6 that show up.
Check how many bid on it.
None of them. This is the initial walkthrough.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Now, Chuck, real quick. Gunnar mentioned maybe paving under there. So does that make any sense to have that area paved before we put a shed on it? It's out of my, no, okay.
I don't,
Stones or.
I guess we could look at it.
I don't know. I don't know. You're the construction guy.
I can see
I can see
stone.
stone.
Okay, all right.
And Joe, what size of a structure are you hoping for?
12 by 24.
The 24 now?
I think so.
Okay.
That's to me.
No, you know what?
I'm pretty sure it's 12 by 24.
If I could throw out this ridiculous thing, it probably would either be wonderful in East Aurora or hated in East Aurora, but my niece lives in Holland and her and her friends ended up getting a cargo container. Now they've got land, they can put it back by the woods, but they have a cargo container that's about that same size.
Shipping container.
Their shipping container, yeah, but it's overseas, little or no damage they got it for less than $2,500.
I have 2 of those at my shop.
Okay,
And
Not the prettiest.
they're not the prettiest, but we have artists, in residence.
it takes 3 men and a boy to open and close those waterproof doors.
Oh, does it?
Every time in and out. I don't think that would be, besides, they're not pretty.
Well, they're not pretty. The nice thing about it is, you said, is it is waterproof and mouse proof and
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
damp
for
proof.
sure.
So
It is, but
The new shed, we're talking about putting electricity in it for lighting and a window for some, some natural light. Because they're gonna be in there fussing with books all the time
Right.
and stuff. We're talking about replacing the windows in that library someday, and they're talking about Roycroft windows. I don't know if a shipping container next to it, but really looks. I get the idea, and I like the idea.
I throw my left side of the brain out for the right side of the brain to help me out and understand, the practicalities of it. That's all.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Look at doing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, okay, I don't know if anyone mentioned it last meeting, but we did have enough points to apply for the bronze status for climate smart community. And I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be getting that around September. We'll be able to make the announcement. So the Climate Smart Community Task Force will now look at the requirements for the silver as well as the funding opportunities and what we can do and try to push forward. And maybe it's about time that we present then what that plan would be to the board and what the options are for moving forward. And a lot of the funding is 50-50 or 80-20. So we'll have to see what the town would like to do and what direction to go, because there's a lot of choices as to how to get to the silver level. The second thing, and of course I'm on vacation, but the New York Forward Committee is interested in so it's less than the committee now, but it is the managers and are interested in coming out to take a tour of West Falls sometime in early September as we are building a New York Forward application for round 2. So there's a couple of dates that I can send over. Be good to try to get as many board members there as possible to help show what the community is and what it means. And then we'll have to go to all of the organizations and have that tour. It would be during the day. The proposed times are all during the day. So, but it's a great step up, and they are willing to help us with the application as well before we submit it to give comments on it. And I do think we're much farther along with our projects this year than we were last year, which was the number one issue with us, is that we had a lot of ideas, but not much commitment or details, which was not really what the grant was for, but that's how the application committee had determined it. So I'll send out those dates, forward that email, and hopefully we can stand in different locations so we don't have 3 of us together, but to get everybody out there.
No, I think if I'm not mistaken, we can do something like that. That's not subject to open meetings law if we're taking a tour of something or.
Yeah.
Well, if we're discussing the town business though, right?
As long as you don't discuss town business, you actually can assemble as long as say you're at a party. You can attend that party.
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to discuss any business from the town.
Or how you're going to vote or things of that nature. Yeah. Excellent.
Is that it, Lou?
Hmm.
All right, I just have one thing, and that was we're celebrating Jim Granville's 39th birthday today.
Oh, there it
Just
is.
kidding.
Happy birthday.
It worked out well the first 19 times I celebrated it, so I figured I'd give it another shot.
All right, next we have audience 2, and this is opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the board on any items whatsoever.
The chief said he had a birthday speech for me, so go ahead. Don't.
I left it in the car.
Did you? Okay,
Anybody?
thank goodness.
Not even you, Rod? Jeez. Making it easy on us. Staff reports, Rod or Paul or? Nothing? Welcome back.
Good.
Jane?
No.
Nothing? How's the pool?
Not much going on. Yeah, right.
Everything working out good down there?
Yeah, you know, I was. Back this year, I think the camp's been going well. Challenging. You know, pool besides chemicals tonight have been doing very well, and we're only around that new budget, so.
Chris, is there anything you need in the pool? I know that waiting pool is something with the chemicals that it's opening and closing all the time. Is there some like permanent solution there, or is that just a thing that happens?
It's a thing that happens, it's because, the line that goes up, that waiting pool there is coming up, about a 6-inch pipe. And so whenever the chemical system has to add, it adds and it flows there very fast, and then it cycles there and it comes through, so it's not a timing mechanism essentially. I kind of told my head guard and I was like, I think we're just gonna have to get a new chemical controller for next year. It's gonna be the plan, but
Yeah, I mean, let us know if there's got to be an investment while we're, for the budget, because yeah, it's a
every pool that I've worked at with the second waiting pool has always had issues on.
Yeah.
Is it getting over chlorinated? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's get dumped in there faster than.
For context, the big pool for me is a little bit much. I like the waiting pool.
Feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Anything else, Chris?
That's good.
Okay, thanks. Liz?
Exactly.
Nothing, okay. The other Liz, I didn't ask you if there was anybody online, but I take it there wasn't, okay. All right, next we have the approval of the abstract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jim,
I'll second.
second by Chuck, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried, and a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.